The Commission on Presidential Debates is considering format changes in response to Tuesday night's debate. Meanwhile, the president's facing some criticism, even from his own camp, for not swiftly and overtly condemning white supremacist groups while on the debate stage. So joining us to discuss the president's debate performance, his senior advisor for strategy, Steve Cortes. Steve, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Sagar.
So, Steve, let's talk about this debate format changes. Is this okay with you guys? They're floating the idea of being able to cut off mics. Is that something the campaign would accept?
Well, look, we haven't made a conclusive decision as a campaign, so I don't want to get in front of the folks within the campaign who are actually doing that negotiation, and I'm not part of that. My personal input, though, would be that that is a terrible idea. No, we don't cut the mics off of the president of the United States in a debate format. So my input, again, I don't want to speak for the campaign because I don't know that we have a position on it yet. But I know this. We're going to be demanding that we stick to the original formats as already negotiated, as signed upon. Any changes that we do agree to are sure to be minimal changes, not major ones.
Okay, so Steve, you accept generally then that format, do you think it was conducive to a win for Trump in that debate? How are you feeling after that debate?
Well, no, my main problem with the format was that President Trump effectively had to debate two people, the moderator, Chris Wallace, as well as Joe Biden. They were both his opponents. I think that was very clear. I think anybody who's not, a firm anti-Trump partisan would recognize that Chris Wallace was clearly interceding constantly to both help out Joe Biden when he was rhetorically in trouble, to throw him an oratorical life vest. And then he was also far more interruptive of President Trump. Even though, listen,
to be fair, Steve, President Trump was far more interruptive of Joe Biden, right?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I guess we could look at the tape. I do know this. The first person to interrupt during the, supposedly sacred 2 minutes of uninterrupted time, the first person to interrupt was Joe Biden at the very beginning of the debate. Perhaps President Trump interrupted more on the whole. I'm not sure. But also, I guess I would say this. These issues are so fundamental and are so structural right now. The kinds of issues we're debating in our country. This country, let's face it, is very torn in many ways. We are very polarized politically. We should not expect that we're necessarily going to have quiet, gentlemanly disagreements in a debate. We should expect that at times it's going to get heated and it will be a bit of a verbal brawl, which it was, of course, on Tuesday.
I think many people were okay with that. Well, I was fascinated. I mean, Chris Christie, Governor Chris Christie, he helped prepare President Trump for the debates. He says the president was too hot. I mean, that's a member of the president's own debate team. Is that a widely shared sentiment within the campaign?
No, that's certainly not my sentiment. President Trump is who he is. The American people know very well he's been the most transparent, the most accessible politician in American history. So they know who he is. They know that he's not always the nice guy, because the nice guy doesn't always get things done. That was true in his business career. It's been true for him as president of the United States. So I think he's authentic. He's always been authentic. Sometimes that works to his disadvantage. I'll be the first to acknowledge that he's not careful and scripted and lawyerly in his approach. But it can also be a great attribute of his. And again, I think the American people know who he is. Now, I would also say this. It can't all be heat. There has to also be light. And I do believe that the next debate in a town hall format will be very different, because the moderator should be much less significant, even if he is antagonistic to Trump, which he probably will be. He won't matter as much, because it's going to be effectively moderated by American people. And I'm confident the commission will truly find people who are undecided out there. And when the president, he recently did a town hall setting with ABC News. Now, ABC stacked that audience, clearly, with voters who can't stand the president. But even with that bias, the president was, I think, really genuine and quiet and wonderful with regular Americans. He's not going to attack them the way
it'll be interesting to see how that it'll be interesting to see how that format changes. Steve, I have another question here, just in terms of the issues that were being raised. A lot of people were basically, didn't see anything about trade. We didn't hear a lot about immigration. We didn't hear about corruption. Many of the things that propelled Trump to the White House. Why was that? You're going to blame the moderator? I mean, the president also should be trying to interject some issues of which he finds dear to his campaign. What happened with that?
No, listen, I think a lot of us were disappointed that the border didn't get into that first debate. I can guarantee you that it's going to be mentioned in the next couple. And of course, the border is not just about our national security and our sovereignty. It's also an economic issue. It relates directly to the unfair wage competition that illegal migrants bring into this country, and why it's such an important issue for working class Americans. So I was disappointed that we didn't hear about the border. But also, look, in 90 minutes, you can't get to everything. Regarding corruption, I will give the president enormous credit. He went right at the Hunter Biden issue. Hunter Biden took millions of dollars from the two most dangerous enemies of the United States, Russia and China, while his father was sitting vice president, and his father knew about it. That's a critical new component to this story that the Senate Homeland Security Committee revealed to us. Those questions need to be answered. Joe Biden didn't answer it. He said 3 times that it was discredited. Well, discredited by whom? I mean, in his own head, it hasn't been discredited at all. So he still hasn't answered. But President Trump pressed him firmly, and I expect he will continue to.
Well, it'll be interesting. Steve, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still to come, we're going to break down the latest job numbers as we shift among union voters. That when Rising continues.